Hi, I'm professional sports handicapper Ross Benjamin. You're watching the OSGA YouTube channel. As always, I'm joined on Mondays by fellow professional sports handicapper Doug Upstone of DocSports.com. Doug, football season is upon us. A full slate of NFL preseason games this week. I know you're excited. I am as well. What do you got going on, buddy?
Well, hey, you know what? We're ready to go. I usually don't dabble into the Hall of Fame game, but this year it just stood out so much to me that I had to, and I certainly wasn't alone in being correct on this. But I took Pittsburgh. Quarterback depth was the difference, and they outscored them, I believe, 16-0 in the second half. So there you go. That's why that game was good. And so we move ahead, as you say, Ross, to a full week, though. We got everybody on board playing. So that's going to add a lot of excitement now. Week one's a little bit different, and I'll just throw out and then I'll come back to you. But I think it's best to always take it easy. There's a lot of people that get too excited this first week of the preseason, and all of a sudden those bankrolls that they've been saving up for, well, all of a sudden they can take a big hit if you're careless. Okay, so I would whatever your normal bet is, okay, in the regular season of the NFL, I'd make at least every one of these half. Okay, in the NFL preseason, especially in week one. Okay, so that's one of my top tips right from the start. Don't overexpose yourself for games that there's no other way to look at this, Ross. These are exhibition games. Okay, yeah. No other way. You're not out there pounding NBA exhibition games. You're not out there pounding exhibition baseball games. There's no reason to do football either. Just slow down, take it easy, okay, but have fun.
Yeah, well, the NFL is the most heavily bet sport there is. I guess professional soccer in Europe, but I mean, as far as our country goes, right? And I think you're right, Doug, that people are a victim of their emotional excitement because there's actual football to be played. And especially there was no preseason last year. Now there's money to be made in the preseason. Okay. I've had 4 top 10 finishes at sportscapping.com since 2010, including 3 in the top 5. Having said that, Doug had mentioned his rule of never going more than 50% of what you normally bet on regular season games. And I agree with that. I actually advise my clients to go no more than 25%. And the reason is quite simple, folks. Yeah, we both win during NFL preseason, but it's a crapshoot sometime. Okay, there's a method to our madness. He mentioned quarterback depth. I think that's a very good point. And we knew that Ben Roethlisberger was not going to play last week. But if you look at the Steelers' other 3 quarterbacks, and very astutely Doug did, you could see why. That's a huge handicapping component at this time of year. Quality depth whatsoever should be considered, okay? I also, what I like to do, Doug, for example, in the Pittsburgh-Dallas game, you want to take a look at the beat writers for both teams. I mean, you have the most powerful tool in the world right now, the internet. You could access any of that information. And more times than not, you'll get a good indicator the day before a game or even a couple of days before a game where the beat writer will get some information on what the head coaches are planning to do in terms of player rotations, how long they're going to use their starters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So just a couple of things that I like to look at, Doug, and also keep an eye on head coaches. There's a couple head coaches that are very good at this time of year. And I gave those away last week, and I'll say it again this week. John Harbaugh, not Brian Billick, which I made a mistake a couple weeks ago. John Harbaugh has been very good. As a matter of fact, since 2016, Doug, the Baltimore Ravens are 17-0 straight up and 16-1 against spread in preseason games. Now you look at the Minnesota Vikings, Mike Zimmer, 20-5 straight up since he's took over in 2014. And that's no coincidence, folks, because that tells me those 2 head coaches in particular put a lot more emphasis on winning at this time of year. Now, having said that, both teams have been playoff contenders throughout that course of time, and both teams have had a lot of good quality depth. Doug, you want to expound upon anything that I said or anything that's come to your mind?
Well, I'll follow a couple of things you said. Is that the popularity of football? Week ago, so last Thursday, depending on when you're seeing this video, but last Thursday, in betting circles, that game, even though it was just a true exhibition game and the first game of the entire deal, there was in all of sports, there was only one more event that more money was bet on. I didn't see what game it was. I read it, but there was one baseball game, only one on the board had more money on it. So that just tells you the enthusiasm that bettors have for football. All right. So again, just slow it down, on that. To your point though, on coaches, I have another one I'll just throw out there. This is a good one. And actually this is good as we speak right now is New England with Bill Belichick, 20-10 as underdogs.
Wow.
Okay. On that with New England. So that's one to keep in mind. And that's actually, like I said, as we're doing this video, that is the position that New England is at home. Okay. Right now, they're an underdog. So keep that in mind if that's something that's of interest to you. So no, beyond that though, Russ, I think it's just a fun, exciting time of year. We're exuberant about it, but our passion isn't necessarily that we're looking forward. We have to bet 10 games. Our passion is that football's back and we're getting to go through these numbers again, and we're excited to do so. And I think that's the key thing, working towards the regular season.
And I'm assuming, Doug, now keep in mind, folks, there's 17 regular season games this year for the first time. Well, now there's only 3 preseason games as opposed to the normal 4. So, Doug, here's a point I want to bring up with you. We discussed it last week, but the point I really want to get across is the last preseason game, 90% of the time, if not more, head coaches aren't going to use any of their starters in the final preseason game. There are some exceptions to the rule. I remember Jeff Fisher used to like the last preseason game as his dress rehearsal. He's definitely in the minority when it comes to that. I always steer clear of the final preseason week just for that sake alone, So this year, probably, like you mentioned last week, we're looking at week 2 as the dress rehearsal for these teams. So again, Doug, your thoughts in that regard?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a mixed bag, to tell you the truth. I read something about the Cowboys that talked about that they're looking towards week 3 for their dress rehearsal, or at least that's what the reports were. Now, I was a little surprised to see that, but in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if out of the 32 teams, let's just say probably 60% are going to do 1 week and 40% are going to do the other. And so that's why, as Ross said earlier, if you want to win this time of year in the preseason, you have to go on the internet and you have to read stuff. Okay. Yeah. You have to force yourself to, even if you don't want to. Okay. Ross and I, we're doing baseball. We're trying to keep all these other balls in the air with football coming, but we got to put the time in. Now that's our job. Yeah. Not complaining about it, but that's how we have had an edge. That's how I've won 15 of the last 19 NFL preseasons. That's why Ross has had, all those top 10 or top 5 finishes in the preseason. There's a reason. It's been putting in the work and getting it done. That's not bragging. It's nothing else. It's just telling you the truth. That's how you get to where we are and how we've been here as long as we have.
Absolutely. 2 more points, Doug, and then we'll get on to our NFL regular season win total prediction for both of us. Keep an eye on teams that are playing in game 2 against teams that are playing in their opening game. You mentioned Dallas and Pittsburgh. I'm of the theory, and the statistics will back it up, that teams playing in their second preseason game have covered more times than not against teams playing in their first preseason game, especially if they're coming off a loss. So that's number 1. And number 2, folks, don't be deceived by preseason lines sometime. In other words, ask yourself this. You brought up New England. For example, if New England is a dog at home, they're a good play, okay? But my point being is this. Sometimes lines look too good to be true. Hypothetically, let's just say that Detroit was playing Tampa Bay in a preseason game this year. I don't know if that's the case. I'm just using it as an example, and hopefully you absorb what I'm trying to say. Now, if Detroit is a 3-point favorite on the road at Tampa Bay, ask yourself this: what would the line be if this was a regular season game? So don't be so quick to jump and say, "Oh, Tampa Bay is a 3-point dog against Detroit at home. That's stealing money, Doug." No, it's not the case. So anything you want to add to that, Doug, and then we'll get to our NFL regular season win total prediction.
Oh, I think we covered it really well, Ross. And so, hey, let's get to the free picks.
All right. So you're going to take a look at the Dallas Cowboys. And what do you got for us, Doug?
Well, I tell you what, the Dallas Cowboys are coming off a 6-10 season in Mike McCarthy's first year, and the only place this team has to go is up. It was a disaster last year, and it happened in the weakest division in all of football last year. So the total is at not every sports, but the majority of them are at 9.5. So will the Cowboys win 9 games or will they win 10? Well, Dak Prescott is back and his offensive line has been retooled and be healthier. The question is, will Dak Prescott be healthier? He's already has a shoulder issue. He is basically on they said they went and asked the Texas Rangers about what to do with this shoulder, and they're the ones that said to shut him down. I don't think this is a long-term deal, but I think it's noteworthy. Do I think he'll be fine? I do, because there's no talk of he'll be out, an extended period of time. They're just shutting him down for now. And if you want to shut down a player, it's best to do it early in camp, not late in camp. So what's going to happen though with the defense? The defense last year, the Cowboys defense conceded the most points in team history, the second most yards, rushing yards, and total yards. They were a disaster. They chased their defensive coordinator out of town as quickly as they could. Got a new one, guy, the former Atlanta coach. He comes in. Now, they're going to a 4-3 defense this year, okay? And the reason that they are is because that's where their best talent is going to be at hand, more so in their defensive line than what they have at linebacker. A big key, though, for their defense is going to be Jalen Smith, middle linebacker, who prior to the 2020 season signed a big contract, and he played like he was fat from eating all that money with that team last year. Okay. They were not good. I'm looking at this team, Ross, and they have road games. I'm looking at this team, referring to Dallas, I should say. They have road games at Tampa, at the LA Chargers, at New England, at Kansas City. And as we know, Ross, this team has always been so at home for years. You could probably say decades. In this one, I think Jerry Jones' teams wins their division. Okay. But I think they come up short on the win total. So I think they're going to finish 9-8, win the division, but be a underplay for us as bettors.
Very good. So Doug likes the Dallas Cowboys to go under the regular season win total of 9.5. And I can't disagree with his reasoning as, that division. And I look at the non-division schedule for every team in the NFC East. It's very tough. Now, having said that, I'm going to be covering the New York Giants. And right now, I looked at all the sports books. There's there's 7s out there and there's 7.5s. So I like the under, okay, or the over, excuse me. So I'm going to go over to 7 with the New York Giants, and I'll tell you why. I mean, this is a team that started 1-7 a season ago in Joe Judge's first year at the helm. And they finished strongly by going 5-3, and they had a legitimate chance of winning the division. As a matter of fact, the division winner, the Washington Redskins, they've defeated 5 straight times now. This is a team that went 4-2 within the division, and the 2 losses in the division last year were by a combined 4 points. Really tough road slate in non-division play at Kansas City, at Tampa Bay, at New Orleans, at Chicago. Those 4 teams all made the playoffs. And their other 2 non-division road games, Miami, who went 10-6 and barely missed, and the LA Chargers, 7-9, who won their last 4 games with a brilliant young quarterback in Justin Herbert. So it's not going to be an easy road on the road, but at home, I look at their 8 home games and they're all winnable. Now we're talking about a team that needs to go 8-9 at least to win my bet. And I think they're totally capable of doing so. Let's not forget Saquon Barkley, like Dallas was missing Dak Prescott last year. Saquon Barkley went down early in the year, and that certainly helped hurt the Giants. And he's back and healthy this year. And they have some good receivers, Doug. I mean, I look at their depth chart at receiver. I mean, their tight ends, Evan Ingram, if he could stay healthy. And then they picked up the veteran Kyle Rudolph from the Minnesota Vikings. And then you're looking at former Detroit all-pro wide receiver Ken Galladay, who's now with the Giants. He was an unrestricted free agent signing. And then last year, I thought Darius Slayton came on well. And I apologize for that phone call, folks. So, they got some weapons offensively. And this defense from a season ago, you look at defensively, Doug, you mentioned the Dallas Cowboys' inadequacies on defense. The Giants were number 12 in total defense last year, number 9 against the rush, number 12 in sacks, and number 9 in scoring. So they could play defense. It's a matter of Daniel Jones will be the key. It's his third year, Doug, and he's been under a lot of scrutiny. I'm in the minority. I like Daniel Jones. I think that you give him a running game and a solid defense, and if he can cut down on the mistakes, I think the Giants will have an excellent chance of going over the total of 7 regular season wins.
Yeah, and to your point, Ross, one of the big changes in that team, and this was without Barkley, the offensive line got better. And that was a big change as the season went on. Now, with Jones, I mean, there's 2 things with him, and until this is cleaned up, and it was at times last year, hanging onto the ball in the pocket, okay, getting it slapped away continually, fumbling the ball, that's problem 1, and then holding on the ball sometimes a little bit too long, and then making bad decisions. So, he's still a young quarterback. I mean, even though he played, let's just say, a fair amount at Duke, he didn't, they weren't a passing team. And so he was as much a running quarterback as he was a passing quarterback. So he still lacks I think, the pocket presence always. And so if that develops this year, that will help this team immensely. And he cuts the turnovers down, because we know what does, everybody says it's a cliche almost, but we know what wins games and loses them: turnovers. So you generate them, you don't commit them, your chances of winning go way up.
One of my concerns is the culture. When you look at what happened on film last week in one of their practices, an all-out brawl. I mean, I know. Look, there's always that type of situation that happens in preseason camp between 2 players. But for a team, for everybody to be squaring off, I don't know if that's good for culture or not, Doug, but we'll see. Anyway, these guys are hyped up to play, and I like Joe Judge a lot, so we'll see. And then the Dallas Cowboys, again, I agree with Doug. They most likely will win the division if Dak Prescott stays healthy, but I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Giants do in a very bad division, I should say. The Washington Redskins, I know there's a lot of hope there, but we talked about them last week, Doug, and I think Philadelphia is just going to be horrible this year. So, okay, Doug, always a pleasure, buddy. And tell the folks one more time where they could find you, how they can get your plays, how they could see your videos.
Real quick, I'm at Doc Sports. That's Doug Upstone at Doc Sports. We have all kinds of packages right now. In fact, we got a season package, over $200 off for the entire season, and that includes college and pro football, of which I won at both very distinctly last year. Mentioned it in last week's video, but looking forward to another big season, doing my homework as we prepare for the regular season. And so I'm expecting big things just like you are, Ross. And so let's get it done.
Sounds good to me. You can find me at rbwins.com, folks. NFL preseason. I'll have some plays for you this week. And as I alluded to, done very well in the preseason since 2010. And also the NFL and college football packages will be up. So you can find me again at rbwins.com, where you pay a little to make a lot. Until the next time, hopefully we're going to have Doug Upstone twice a week during football. We'll see. We got to negotiate with him, but hopefully that takes place. But until the next time, till next Monday, for Doug Upstone and Ross Benjamin, like to wish each and every one of you all the very best. God bless and take care.